Good morning. um, I woke up this morning with another reason to make room to ruminate. So I woke up, was pretty tired, which is pretty normal for me. I'm not a super morning person. And I did my meditation, and through the meditation time, what came out and in, if you will, I'm peeling my red banana, was forgiveness. It came up again, forgiveness. And I'm not unfamiliar with forgiveness and the need to and moving through it. However, this time there was a slight, not detour, I don't know, added branch of fruit maybe. So I'm just going to be a little more detailed without disrespecting as best I can. I am freshly coming out of two things. One is, for the past 5 to 6 years, I'd been displaced in my car, on couches, and a lot of things took place during that time that I still don't even speak about, but there's a lot of healing happening. And so I've been in this new spot, not even a whole year, maybe 6 months, and give thanks that it is a place that I have been able to create a sacred and secure place for myself, so that I can cry, so that I can grow, so that I can re-examine self. And I was able to get the place because my partner saw the need and took steps to make sure that I got a secure place to live and call home. However, that's the two-parter. That's the second part. That partner and I are no longer together. Probably before he even helped me get the place, we were on the way to separate destinations. He has his desires. He has his ideas of how to go about making things happen for his life. And they just didn't meet up. There are certain things that I feel I need to consider a relationship secure and safe. And there are certain things that he needs or feels like he needs, and they just weren't meshing. And so for me, there was a lot of frustration and pain because I saw that as my forever. Like, I saw us as being together. That was my one, right? That was my person. And from the things that he's told me, the ways that he, spoke to me about us building, that was confirmation. I wasn't just dreaming. This was real, And so with the demise of that relationship was the demise of a lot of dreams and hopes that I had begun to allow myself to really feel. I was ready to move into a different space of living my life. And so I was very angry. I was very hurt, super duper wounded. I'm still growing through a lot, but I'm not as super duper. And, but it still hurts. And so it's changed the way that I do me, as well as my outlook on relationships. So, I definitely feel like I heard Sugar tell me, do not give up on relationships. Do not shut down your heart. That's not acceptable. And so I was like, So a few things that I felt like Sugar told me to do to help keep the gateways open for love for myself. Because one of the things I believe is you can't shut down components of your heart. If you begin to shut down one aspect, that blackness or darkness, and not to use black as a negative color, because I love black. Black is beautiful. But when I speak of darkness, I'm speaking of the more ominous, that, for lack of better terminology, forgive me, um, can come in and suck you dry. If you allow that wound and bruise to fester and grow and you feed it, it will not stay in one little section and cubbyhole. It will begin to take root and further grow. Anything that you feed and allow to fester without dealing with it and attending to it will grow, for the most part. So anyway, moving past all of that, this morning, what came about was, in my moving to continue to further forgive him, because, I was angry. That's what we do. We be mad sometimes. I had to forgive me more fully. And that sat interestingly for me. For one, I thought I had forgiven me. But for two, I didn't know. So I said, what am I forgiving myself for? And a few things came out. Because I felt guilty for putting all my eggs in one basket. We're taught not to do that. I don't really think there's anything wrong with putting all your eggs in a basket. It may be wisdom to distribute them more evenly in a more balanced manner if you have more than one basket. But the way that I see putting your eggs in a basket doesn't have to be a negative. It's just a matter of honoring that this is a focal point for me, right? And what I learned is that I'm really good at focusing. And in some cases, I'm too good. It's a hyper focus. And in doing so, I can forget me. So one of the things that I am examining as far as forgiving myself is to, first of all, not feel guilty for putting all my eggs in a basket, but also to forgive myself for being so focused on the union that I forgot to remember aspects of myself that were very important to me. Because in doing so, I forgot or neglected or was fearful to speak up about what I needed as we went forward, especially because it felt like, even though he was very open to say, let me know what you need, ask for what you want, when I did that, it didn't feel like it was a safe space to do it. It felt like there was going to be condemnation, there were going to be repercussions, there was always going to be some kind of tension. And so I learned to be quiet. And I'm learning to forgive myself, not only for being quiet when I could have chosen me in the midst of us, but also forgiving myself for, if you see too many things pop up and it just begins to be repetitive. There were a few times that I thought of walking away, and I didn't, because I really wanted that union. It finally seemed like I was going to have that forever, and that forever became a focal point for me, to the point that I was almost so committed that I was willing to do anything to let that forever be fully manifest. What I didn't understand was that in allowing that, allowing anything, it wasn't necessarily going to add to the journey that I am now on, which is joy, peace, and satisfaction. There is a submission and a surrender that I am learning that is far more healthy than the one that I come from. I am learning that surrender and or submission don't have to equal neglect or dishonoring of self. So I'm looking at a lot of things of forgiving me for forgetting me, but I'm getting even more honest and more transparent and more vulnerable with myself and saying, my desire for that union was so great that I'm about to get a little bit too butt naked right here. That it's very possible that I may have even indulged in some manipulative behavior as well. And some of it may have been, I haven't gotten all the way through it, but I am examining it because that's what I do. I self-examine on a regular. Some of the manipulation may be connected to things that I did in ways that I moved with him to help smooth things out. So he, saw me as a prize, even though I didn't necessarily always feel like that. But there were manipulations that I definitely moved in with myself, manipulating myself into staying or being in a certain way that I felt was necessary to achieve the goal being forever. Frozen blueberries. I love frozen blueberries. So anyway, having to forgive myself on a much deeper level kind of shook my world. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize I was getting down like that. But clearly I was. So it's really got me re-examining without guilt, without shame, in the most healthy way. Because now as I re-examine, I am honoring what can I do differently? How can I move in a more holistic and healthy manner going forward? Because we already know that by Sugar saying, don't shut down your heart on love, that love is still there. Love is still out there for me. So I've begun engaging myself in ways that I had blocked, exploring and investigating possible other avenues of love. And not all of them, these are really cold. Not all of them have to be what leads me to the one. We get to want what we want, right? I hear all the time that there's no such thing as forever. People shouldn't try to gear towards that. And one day maybe I'll be there. That's not where I am. I want something that is for me, something that is balanced and healthy. And I want somebody, I want us to be committed to whatever it takes for us to grow together. So we're both examining self. Yes, there will be compromise, but there will never have to be a death of everything that I desire in order for us to live. There will never have to be a death of everything that my partner desires for us to be able to live. And in many ways, it felt like often there would have to be a death of one of us. And I never wanted him to have to die because I love him. You love somebody, you want them to live. But I also didn't want there to be a death of me. There are deaths of aspects of stinking thinking, if you will. I remember that term when I was younger, stinking thinking. And there are maturities that happen, hopefully, if you're growing. And so then there are old aspects of you that might die away. But you as your vibrant, joyous being having to die so that something else will have life is not, that's not it. That's not it. I'm not buying into that one. Or at least not yet. Who knows what tomorrow brings. But anyway. I just kind of wanted to come and address the aspect and possibilities of forgiving self, and how we don't really pay attention as much as we could to the fact that the way we treat ourselves is really how we treat each other, how we treat others. How we treat ourselves is very often how we treat those around us. So if you, and they say that too, right? Like, if somebody is judging you or this or that, that's their issue. That's their internal, that's how they deal with it, with themselves. And I'm finally starting to understand how that moves and what it looks like. And I realized that in getting a little bit more real and forgiving me opens up floodgates for me to better forgive my partner or my ex-partner and anybody else. And again, forgiveness does not mean you have to deal with them people anymore. I don't know if I will or will not deal with my ex in the future. But I do know that I'm learning that just because I don't want to deal with people that I've had to forgive or that I'm learning to forgive does not have any bearing on my worth, my value, the kind of person I am. We get to choose. We get to choose. But in first choosing self, I am learning to honor the fact that if I really want to treat others in a certain way, it would behoove me. It would be in my best interest to learn how to practice that treatment by giving it to myself first. Like really, airplane, they say take the mask, put it on yourself first. I remember for years, whenever I'd be on an airplane and they would say that, I'd be like, you crazy. I'm putting this on my baby first. My baby is the most important thing. You got me up, right? And then through maturity and a series of growth spurts, I got a picture of a devastating plane crash and what happened as a result of me putting the mask on my baby first. And how that child was damn near forced to survive even greater atrocities because they didn't have me there to protect them and to help them through. The least of it being starvation. And I was like, whoa, I'm not going to tell you all the stuff I saw. It was really like, I was like, oh my God. That was for me to help me move into a better place of remembering me and how remembering me fits into the scheme of remembering others. Yours may not have to be that loud and devastating. For me, it needed to be. That's what sugar used. It woke me up. It got my attention. I realized, oh, I need to put the mask on me, make sure I'm good, make sure I'm okay. And then when I know that I'm okay, now I can give to someone else, including my own children. And I see that even now. I see a lot of parents, we're not serving our children by trying to be super parents that serve them first, and we go without and we're neglected. It's actually, I'm watching it. I'm watching the kids respond to it, and it's a disservice. I'm not suggesting you be selfish or greedy. I'm saying tending to self in the way that we see as valuable to tending to others is just as important, and it needs to have its place as well. If it's good enough for me to give to somebody else and pour out to someone else, it has to be good enough for me to receive. And if it's not, I need to change something about the way I'm moving with others and myself. So forgiveness is definitely something that I often try to extend to others. And now I'm looking at how to better extend it to myself and what that means. And really honestly being truthful about what am I forgiving? Because I'm not completely innocent. You know, I had motivations. I had desires in that union. And occasionally I was mean because I was hurt. Not excusing the mean. I'm saying we all move in different ways. Sometimes it's motivated from within. Sometimes it's motivated from without. And sometimes we just really are not thinking or being mindful, and we hurt people we care about. And so I know that I've had to have moved in ways that hurt him, because in my caring for him, I was hurt and angry. So now looking at me and really getting real about what did you bring to the table as well, and forgiving myself. And for me, forgiveness is not a one part. It is not a one-dimensional thing. Forgiveness, especially when it's dealing with the self, is honoring that there was something there that may need to be examined and checked, and then moving to move differently. That's super key for me. Moving to move differently. I can forgive myself for cussing you out, but if the same situation happens with the next store attendant, or the same situation happens with somebody at the school, or the same and I'm still doing the same shit, what's the purpose for the forgiving? Ain't nothing new. Ain't nothing different. So, for me, when it comes to forgiving me, I have to honor that it is a multifaceted thing. Examining the truth of what is needing to be forgiven. And then, honestly, no shame, no beating myself up, because then you spend so much time in the yuck. You don't get to evolve and become the lotus. You got the mud, the mud serves its purpose. Now get yourself up and bloom. And the blooming is being able to move in new movement. And I'm getting a chance to do that. And it feels good. It's scary, but it feels good, and I'm grateful. And I am able to, in doing so, in forgiving me, better forgive my ex. And as I'm doing that, I'm able to acknowledge some of the beauty that did transpire through that union. My apartment, being able to have my own space. And finding that I have a desire to keep it, because at first I was terrified. The rent was super too high for me. And, through that union, there were promises of, supporting financially and assisting. And it didn't even get to the second month of that. And once we, it all fell apart. So now it was completely on me to figure out how to make it happen. So I was angry about that. And then forgiving myself for not having things in place. Like normally, the way that I get down is I have multiple things in place to handle whatever hits. I didn't have anything in place. I don't have anything in place to make sure I can maintain. So there was, and sometimes still is, that fear of, can you keep the place? Can you keep it going? And forgiving myself for not having it all together. And thus, I didn't have it all together. So made it very easy to keep pushing it back on him. You motherfucker, you put me in this situation, right? But once I forgive myself for not having it all together, something starts to unlock in me, and I can appreciate even having the time and space to have had a space of my own, even this long. I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, but being able to have it for this amount of time to promote the growth and healing that has happened, I'm grateful for that. There were a lot of little things that happened along the deterioration of my relationship. And I'm not going to go into all of those because that's not necessary. But those little things will creep up and poke their head out. And it'd be like, you don't forgive that? And yeah. Then I look back at me and go, I still had an input, you know? I still have an input. So that also allows me to move differently in empowering myself when new love comes. Am I really comfortable with this? Am I willing to cast it to the wind? And what happens if I do? And in fact, I talked to a brother recently, and he wanted to get together and do some things. And because of where I'm at right now, I'm not fully ready to just woo. I expressed that I would prefer da-da-da-da-da. And was totally open and able to receive that if he wasn't down for that, then that's okay. You don't have to be down for that, but this is where I am, and honoring that. And that is something that suggests to me the healing process is definitely taking place. That fruit is beginning to resurface from this tree, and I am learning to forgive me. And he was cool with it. But even putting it out there with still these damaged wings and feeling like you might fuck it up. It is there. I can't fuck it up. Even the relationship that fell apart, it served whatever purpose it was to serve. He got to be the man that he wanted to be in doing some of the things that he got to do. And I got to enjoy some of the beautiful things and exchanges that we had. And then he got to move on and be where he wanted to be. And, he laid that out and reaped the manifestations of what he desired. And I'm reaping manifestation desires, I suppose. I am. I have the option. We all have the option to change our minds and choose to manifest something different. Initially, I may have wanted to manifest A and B. And then once I get to A and B, I go, I thought that was going to make this happen. And I was going to feel like this. I don't want to manifest A and B. I think what I want to do now is manifest something different. I'm going to try F. That seems like F is going to fit a little bit differently because of the prongs. It's going to work differently. We get to continually keep creating. We are always becoming, right? And so we get to honor what is it that we want to become. You're never done becoming. You don't have to be. I mean, I guess you can be, but you don't have to be. And I am finally getting to places where I am enjoying the process and the becoming. And in the midst of that is learning to forgive myself. Forgiving myself for not being at the level of maturity that I am currently, or that I will be next month. Yeah, this has been a very interesting journey, and I give thanks and appreciation. Anyway, I feel like I could go on and on and on. Too many details, and streams of consciousness. But I'm going to stop now and just remind us to give to ourselves those things that we think are important and valuable enough to give to others. If you think giving treats to your kids is a big deal, then think about what treats do you like, and give yourself some treats as well. If you feel like being kind and letting someone else get the parking space is a really wonderful thing to do, then occasionally make sure you give yourself a parking space too. Like for real, 2 cars. This time I'm gonna take this one, baby, because I often have a heart to give others the parking space. So this time I'm gonna take this parking space. Thank you for being patient with me. You deserve the wonderful things you give out. And for those of us who are mean and crotchety and always snapping on people and always trust and believe. As much as we'd like to not believe, we do that with ourselves. We do. Don't be so mean and crotchety with you. You start treating yourself better, you start receiving better and wanting better, and that will cause you to put out even better. So if you want to do better by those around you, you have to look within and really begin to honor doing better from within. How do you treat yourself? Do you numb yourself all the time? Well, then that's why you're struggling with people who are not numbed, because they're expressing and they're telling you, and that shit is too much. Just numb it. You want them to do what you do. So then start to peel back some of the layers of numbing so that you can honor when someone else is expressing in a more full way. Let yourself move into expressing instead of numbing. That's it. Thank you for this time to make room to ruminate.